The following contains full spoilers for Final Fantasy XIII-1. Please check the description for more information. Final Fantasy XIII-2, Fragments Before. Chapter 3, Friend and Foe. Part 1. Now, what to do? Snow stretched exaggeratingly as he mumbled this. Grass and sea stretched as far as the eye could see, and a mountain range could be seen in the distance. The Arch-Out Steppe, that's what Feng and Vanille called this place. That had been nearly 3 years ago now. No, to be more accurate, it's been about 2.5 years. More than that. He bent his fingers, counting, but gave up. What difference would just a month or two make? Above all, he was bad at math. Just about 3 years. It's something like that, right? In addition, these steppes weren't a place that would change in 2 or 3 years. The skies were so blue that they were dizzying, and the flowers Vanille used to gather were still there too. There was only one thing that had changed. It was Cocoon. At the time, Cocoon was still floating in the skies. It was small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. Because Cocoon was now closer to the surface of the ground, it appeared so large that you wouldn't think it was the same thing. The sphere, supported by the glittering pillar, looked like an egg being held in arms that reached out from the ground. The 2 Pulsians were holding Cocoon. Always thought it was 3 people. That Sis was with them too. Something rushed past right beside him, muttering Snow. As he inadvertently stepped back to avoid them, they came one after another. It was a herd of cactuars. Oh yeah, the old man used to chase these around. An image of Saz yelling, "Hey!" while waving his hands and chasing cactuars came to mind. It seemed that his afro somehow looked amusing not only to birds, but to cactuars as well. The little green pests frequently played tricks on Saz and ran circles around him. It was around then that he learned that cactuars were smart for monsters, that they moved shockingly quick, and that they were generally small, but some grew enormously tall. The herd of cactuars that stampeded past, kicking up a cloud of dust, stopped soon after they passed Snow. Perhaps they were taking a break. At any rate, this is the first time he had seen so many cactuars at once. Though it was just a rough guess, it seemed like there were 50 of them. There weren't any large enough to be gazed up at, but there were some around the size of a human child. Then there were some that were only about the size of long boots. The grouping of cactuars varying in size made it seem like many sets of parent and child cactuars had gathered together. A happy cacti family. No, perhaps a cactuar school? Looks like Parents' Day to me. Serah's face popped into his mind with the word school. The one and only teacher of a school of less than 20 students. The day before Snow departed from New Bodom, Serah had been about to solve a factional rivalry among the girls. It seemed that children were people who started one troublesome thing after another. But, if you don't have experience with causing trouble, then you won't acquire the skills necessary to solve it, right? That's an important lesson for the children. You just have to keep up with it. But it's tough, said Serah with a shrug, and smiled. Everything about her made her seem like a school teacher. Seeing that expression on her face, he thought she would be fine, and felt relieved. Serah had a place where she belonged, as well as support. If I could only bring back one more important thing. Snow had been thinking these things while watching the cactuars, but then, by chance, a small cactuar came into view. Despite the fact that it was a monster, the sight of it standing isolated from the group made it look somewhat lonely. Although it was standing only in the sense of a cactuar stance. It wasn't standing dead still or anything. It was busy spinning around on the spot and making passes at the sheep. But amidst all that, it would stop to look at the group once in a while. Maybe in this dog-eat-dog world of Grand Pulse, even amongst cactuars, the smallest ones were weeded out. Hey, Pipsqueak. A lost kitten, a baby bird that fell out of its nest, a hurt puppy. As these images of baby animals overlapped, he inadvertently called to it. The stray cactuar turned around with a spin and looked up at Snow. The ornament on its head wavered as it reflected a red glow. You want to go back to your friends, right? The cactuar tilted its head. No, cactuars don't have necks to tilt their heads with, so it only seemed that way. Then you should stop being all indecisive over there and dive in there head on. He was going to give its shoulder a little pat, but he realized cactuars didn't have shoulders. No, there's something else that comes first and foremost. Wait a minute. When I think about it, this thing is really just a monster. The moment it occurred to him that monster equals enemy, beat it up, the cactuar headbutted Snow in the stomach. Ouch! Hey you! Hold on a minute! Ow! 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 The cactuar used its characteristic speediness to headbutt a second and third time, perhaps because it was still small. They were of a strength that could be stopped with some force, but... I said wait! Hey! But for some reason he was against hitting it. Even though it was a monster, the idea that he felt sorry for it came before that. Somehow, I don't really feel like fighting with you. As he spontaneously mumbled that, the headbutting came to a halt. You understand me? The cactuar didn't shake its head left and right or up and down. It just looked up at Snow. But to Snow's eyes, it looked as if it was giving him an affirmative answer. I see, you don't like fighting either, huh? Of course. Whether you're human or monster, nobody wants to get hurt. It wouldn't be strange for a monster without a herd who felt lonely to think that they didn't want to get hurt, or that they didn't want to fight. Then he reached for that little hand. Ow, 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 ow! Snow flew into the air. The cactuar's needles were sharp and hard. Its needles were thin and insignificant in appearance, but they easily went right through his leather glove. Oh, of course. You can get yourself into a lot of trouble by underestimating those needles. It had been so long since he had last encountered cactuars that he had completely forgotten. It was then, as he muttered an, I've got to be careful. Oh crap! Snow took flight again. Before he realized it, the herd of cactuars had moved in. He had forgotten about the pain of full-on grabbing the cactuar's needles. We're going after them! You're going to get left behind! However, cactuars moved fast. The herd steadily broke away from the pair of human and cactuar and disappeared beyond the edge of the steppes. But he continued running, and before he knew it, the day had fallen into evening. Before long, it would be night. Find camp while it was still light out. That was what Fang and Vanille had always said the first time he journeyed through Grand Pulse. More importantly, he didn't feel like he could walk another step. Snow sat down on the spot. Of course the cactuar hadn't even broken a sweat. Sorry, all I did was hold you back. It was all because he thoughtlessly called out to it that he didn't realize the herd of cactuar had started to move. He had done something cruel. However, the cactuar didn't look angry or sad. Instead, it just looked at Snow. Then he suddenly realized why. Though small, it was still a cactuar and could run faster than a human such as Snow. Yet, this cactuar had always been running next to Snow. I guess you waited for me, didn't you? As usual, the cactuar neither moved its head up and down, nor left or right. This time there would be only one answer. You're a good guy, aren't you? You could have left me and ran ahead, but you couldn't do it. Surely, having known the loneliness of being left out of the herd, it had reservations about deserting anyone. Even if that someone was of a different species. Got it. I'll do whatever it takes to get you back with your herd. Don't worry. This had to be fate. It was a journey without any direction. This detour of searching for the herd of cactuar could unexpectedly drop clues to his destination. Now that that's settled, it's time for tonight's dinner in bed, right? Once again, Snow left as he put his hand on top of the needle-filled head, incorrigible as usual. To be continued.